I solved one of the sets entirely, and the second set I was very confident of solving it. But somehow during the last 10 minutes when you are about to mark the questions or mark the answers on your paper, you somehow feel that you have missed something and you are not getting the correct options whichever are there. And this actually happened to me in the paper. Once I moved into DILR, again it was I usually used to gauge the passages, the sets in the initial 5 or 6 minutes I devote to reading all the passages and get a sense of what each of these passages are about. Reflect yourself, reflect whether you want to do an MBA or not, because the stakes are very high. I'm an engineer. I graduated from IIT VHV in 2019, and post that I was working with Standard Chartered in financial markets, mostly in a tech role. I was the technical manager there and worked close to around 4 years in the company. Post that I was just prepared for CAT because I wanted to know everything about how to do a business, because I had enough knowledge about the technical stack and everything, and that's how I appeared for CAT and got into IIM Bangalore. So I always preferred having a classroom course which kind of keeps me engaged for around 2 years, because in a 1 year course you spend some time on doing your internships or preparing for the internships, but in a 2 year course you get more of a leeway in terms of getting know all the courses better. And personally I felt it made more sense for me to learn more, even though I had to give up my job for 2 years. But then I believe that it's something which will help me in the longer run. So I appeared for CAT for a serious attempt. This was my second attempt, and I appeared for the first time while I was graduating from my undergrad. And during that time, CAT used to be for 3 hours, 2018, back in 2018. But then it was something which I felt that I should have a more work ex and gain a bit of experience before I try anything further. So I appeared again in 2021, CAT 2021, and so it was a 2-hour paper, but things were very different from a 3-hour paper. So I had to change a few things, especially because you were not given that 1 hour time for each of the sections. So you kind of had to pace up yourself, because the passages or the sets for the DILR, none of these things were going to change a lot. They were going to have the same sort of logic behind them or the context behind them, and then you had to do all of this in 40 minutes. So it was a very different ballpark game altogether. So 2021 and 2022 were kind of on the similar pattern, except the fact that there were questions of different types in VRC, to be precise. But the strategy, what changed for me from 2021 to 22 was, in 2021 I was not very sure of my scores in VRC. It was very dicey at times. I was not sure whether I'll be able to ace the paper or not, or how is it going to unfold for me. So 2021 was the time when I tried to devote most of my time into VRC, because quant was always one of my strongest points, and I had scored twice already 99 percentile plus in quants. So I just wanted to keep that up where it is and get the weaker sections also in place and up to the mark to get a better percentile. On my D-Day, for the initial hiccup about getting just 5 or 6 minutes before the paper, so that got me nervy in the initial phase of the paper. Moving forward, I kind of tried to relax myself a bit and focus on smaller questions, or maybe easier questions, which felt like that to me. And once I moved into DILR, again it was I usually used to gauge the passages, the sets in the initial 5 or 6 minutes I devote to reading all the passages and get a sense of what each of these passages are about. On the D-Day, I solved one of the sets entirely, and the second set I was very confident of solving it. But somehow during the last 10 minutes when you are about to mark the questions or mark the answers on your paper, you somehow feel that you have missed something and you are not getting the correct options whichever are there. And this actually happened to me in the paper, and I had just one entire set and I had nothing else marked on the paper. But since I had read the sets earlier, I knew which was the next set I could attempt after that. And in the last 12 minutes, I remember 12 minutes was what was left on my timer. In those last minutes, I just picked the next easiest set which I had figured out. And since I had read the set initially, I had a mental map of how to solve or how to go about the question, and I was able to solve it in another 10 minutes. So even when you are lost in the middle of the paper, just don't panic and just trust yourself that you have done enough mocks and you will be able to do it. And that's how I navigated on the day itself. And all of this comes from practice, all of this comes from timing yourself in the mocks, all of this comes from not getting very panicky about the timer or the ticking that seconds, because all of these make you nervous. So just take a deep breath, and even when you are lost in those dying moments, just don't panic and try to be the best version of yourself, and that works. So using this strategy, so I got 99.3 percentile in CAT, and my sectionals were, I had around 99.8 in quants and 99 point something in DILR and 96 percentile in VARC. The calls which I got was IIM Bangalore and IIM Lucknow. So my experiences from IIM Bangalore and IIM Lucknow were two very different things. So IIM Bangalore they focus more on your work ex, also because I had a higher work ex, so they expected me to know a lot more about the work, the domain I'm working in, the sector, what is going around in the sector. So I was working in a financial bank, so I was working at Standard Chartered, and they expected me to know about derivatives. So they expected me to know about Silicon Valley Bank collapse. So I was asked these questions. I was asked a few guesstimates on, how impacted the Indian startups are going to be on the failure of SVB. So these things are kind of things which you get more in the Bangalore interview. For IIM Lucknow, so mostly professors, they know a lot more about Varanasi than you expect them to be. So professors usually know a lot more about the names in Varanasi. They know about the places in Varanasi, or maybe the incidents which have happened over these years there. For Lucknow, I was asked on these grounds mostly about how Varanasi is, why Lanka is called Lanka, and then the mythological connect of various things, yoga and Varanasi. So all of these things were kind of asked in my Lucknow interview, to the extent that I had to draw the map of Varanasi in my interview and then tell them that where Lanka is and the mythological connect between Lanka and all of that river, why there are so many ghats, why is Assi Ghat called Assi Ghat. So these were kind of questions in Lucknow. So it was more of a conversational interview. In the later parts of the interview, I was also asked about my work ex and derivatives in general. So yeah, these were things which were different in the two interviews. But the only thing which worked for me, even if I didn't know anything, I was very honest about it, that sorry, but I'm not aware of this. And this is something which helped me convert both the interviews. Yeah, I think that's one of the key things to take away before appearing for any interview, that just be honest, and they'll not test you on things which you don't know. They'll test you definitely on things which you know, and be sure that you know these things which are associated to you. So the one piece of advice for anyone at my stage with a higher work ex should actually reflect yourself, reflect whether you want to do an MBA or not, because the stakes are very high, and definitely it's not going to be an easier journey for you, because people are kind of into that zone you are working, and then you are into that your schedule is entirely aligned to the work experienced people and how you spend your day. And coming back to studies is something which you should be really motivated about, that yeah, you want to pursue something just because you want to know about these things, or you want to gain an expertise in the entire business world, how everything works, how everything comes together, and just expand your horizon for that matter, that yeah, you want to make a change for yourself, and you want to accelerate, or you want to see yourself on a different career trajectory from here on. So that's one thing, that you should be actually getting that kick from inside, that yeah, you want to pursue an MBA. So once you get that kick, I think things will be pretty much easier. You'll be able to figure those things out, how to appear for CAT, or how to ace that exam, or how to appear in the interviews.